إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فإن خير الحديث كلام الله وخير الهدي هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة وكل ضلالة في النار. The greatest surah in the Quran. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala required from us to read it every time we stand for the salah and every rak'ah. And the hadith from Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, collected from Bukhari and Muslim, instructs us to recite al-Fatihah in the salah. لا صلاة لمن لم يقرأ بفاتحة الكتاب. The hadith says there is no salah, meaning accepted, for whoever does not read al-Fatiha in the salah, meaning in every rak'ah. It is the greatest surah in the Quran, as Imam Bukhari reported from Abu Sa'id ibn al-Mu'alla radiyallahu anhu, who said that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam told him he will teach him the greatest surah in the Quran. Then he said, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. So Al-Fatiha is the greatest surah in the Quran. We read it every time we stand for the salah, in every rak'ah required from us. Do we really think about the meaning that this ayah and this surah conveys to us? The ayah is اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. So every time you stand for the salah, you read Surah Al-Fatiha, becomes a habit. Many of us just read it as a matter of habit. They don't really think about what it means. They read it fast, maybe join the ayat together like in one breath, which is a contradiction of the sunnah, instead of separating each ayah by itself. And how many among us really think about what it means? So we'll talk about اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is commanding us to read Surah Al-Fatiha. In it, there are great potential for us to earn Allah's favors, bounties, and pleasure. Look at the ayah, اهدنا الصراط المستقيم. Guide us to the straight path. Every time we read it, we should think about what it means. Because I'm asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in my salah, every time I stand to pray, in every rak'ah, to guide me to the straight path. Ihdina, guide us. As-sirata, to the path. Al-mustaqim, that is straight. What's the sirat? صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم. The path of those on whom you bestowed your favors. فأولئك مع الذين أنعم الله عليهم من النبيين والصديقين والشهداء والصالحين وحسن أولئك رفيقا. So the ayah here says that those who believe will be among and with those on whom Allah bestowed His ni'mah. من النبيين, the Anbiya, الصديقين like Abu Bakr, والشهداء like Umar and Uthman, والصالحين, and the righteous believers وحسن أولئك رفيقا. And these are the best group to be with and among. So اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم. So I'm asking Allah, this is the path that I am begging you, invoking you to guide me to it, so I can stay on it, and to make sure that I know what this path requires from me. I also think about the rest of the ayah. صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم, not the path of those who earned Allah's anger, ولا الضالين, or the path of those who were led astray. La ilaha illallah. So look at the description of the path I am invoking Allah to keep me on it. It is the path of Al-Anbiya, Al-Siddiqeen, Al-Shuhada, Al-Salihin. This is the path. It's not mixed or connected or similar to the path of those who earned Allah's anger. Those who know the truth and choose to contradict it and defy it, like the Jews. They're not the only ones. They're not the only ones. But the hadith says that al-maghdubi alayhim are the Jews. So the Jews, this is the path of the Jews that I'm asking Allah to keep me on the path of the believers, away from the path of the Jews. Those who know the truth and choose to contradict it and defy it with knowledge, like the Jews. وَلَا الضَّالِّينَ, or the path of those who are led astray. It's not a straight path if you mix it with the path of those who earned Allah's anger and those who are led astray, who have been fighting with each other for 2,000 years about the true identity of their Lord. They still dispute about it. They don't know exactly who they're worshipping or why. So I'm asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in my salah, every time I read al-Fatihah, to keep me on the straight path, away from the path of the Jews and Christians. And yet, so many Muslims defy the same surah they recite in their salah by their behavior these days. So many Muslims. We'll talk about this in the second khutbah, inshaAllah. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على المبعوث رحمة للعالمين وبعد. Imam Bukhari and Muslim reported from Abu Sa'id al-Khudri radiyallahu anhu that Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam said, لَتَتَّبِعُنَّ سَنَنَ مَنْ كَانَ قَبْلَكُمْ شِبْرًا بِشِبْرٍ وَذِرَاعًا بِذِرَاعٍ حَتَّى لَوْ دَخَلُوا جُحْرَ ضَبٍّ تَبِعْتُمُوهُمْ. Abu Sa'id said, we said to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, who are they? Those you're talking about. Who are they? The Jews and the Christians? He said, who else? La ilaha illallah. Before I explain this hadith, let me connect it to what so many Muslims today do. They don't mind celebrating in some way Thanksgiving, Halloween, Christmas is coming, and you have fatwa from deviant people who claim to have knowledge in the religion, who say, it's okay, Christmas is just a gathering, you just gather with family and friends. Well, Mr. Genius, it says Christmas. when we were young, growing up in Kuwait, they were forcing on us the TV every year, at the end of the year, when there's time for Christmas, to watch these horrible movies that talk about Jesus and his mother, where they bring the most, or some of the most wicked people earth has to produce, or has produced for humankind, really, to take the role of Jesus and his mother. These are wicked people, and the stories are mostly fake. But they forced that on us. So you're telling us now today is not a religious gathering, it's not a religious celebration. What are you talking about? It's because of the ignorance of the people, that they listen to what people are trying to do to their religion, to their akhirah, so that they have trouble with Allah, but not think about the surah they're reciting every day in the salah. Guide me to the straight path, O Allah, the path of those on whom you bestowed your ni'mah, your favor, your mercy. Oh, Christmas is coming, so it's fine. Some Muslims might even wear that pink suit. They don't care if they go with their family. Like, it's not a religious celebration, but the family there, they're celebrating the birth of who? Jesus, Isa, Yeshua. They're celebrating that birth. That's why they're meeting. And even if some of them don't believe in Christianity, what about the mixing? What about gathering on a day of celebration that is originally pagan turned pagan Christian, and the people drinking and dancing? This is how they thank Allah, according to their religion, for sending Isa to them, and by choosing a day that they have no idea if it is true or fake. Nobody knows what day he was born in, especially since you have Eastern Christians have another day, others have another day. It looks like Isa alayhi salam was born on 3 different days. That didn't happen to Maryam. It was only one day. And nobody alive today knows which day that was. Allahu Akbar. So they're celebrating this. I mean, in some Muslim countries, I've seen videos wearing that ridiculous stuff they wear on Halloween in a Muslim country. And they're having fun and everything. Then maybe Salat al-Maghrib will come, go recite Al-Fatihah. اهدنا الصراط المستقيم صراط الذين أنعمت عليهم غير المغضوب عليهم ولا الضالين. Where is that Halloween costume? Bring it back. They go back to the street to celebrate. Thanksgiving, they're celebrating it. On the day they celebrate Thanksgiving by doing the same thing, cooking the same meal, even inviting other Muslims. I was invited once to that, and I said, no, you read Al-Fatihah, you're not supposed to be doing that. That's different from buying turkey, for example, before, and because it's cheap at that time, and cooking it after in a different way. That's different. That's not what we're talking about. Celebrating Thanksgiving, which should be called repentance giving. Oh Allah, thank you for this land. We stole 2 continents, killed almost 100 million people. We oppressed them. We killed them, men, women and children, gave them hundreds of treaties, and we broke every one of them. Thank you, Allah. Thank you. Instead of repenting for this, what they did, and many things we can say about this. So people are doing exactly what the hadith says. Let's go back to the hadith and end with the hadith. So Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam says, hadith Bukhari and Muslim from Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, slightly different words. This one is al-Bukhari's narration. لَتَتَّبِعُنَّ, you will follow. This is a miracle, because Muslims, since after his time, after the Sahaba, they started doing exactly what Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said they will do. لَتَتَّبِعُنَّ سَنَنًا. Sanan means traditions, cultures, habits, behavior, everything that has to do with them. Those who came before you, مَنْ كَانَ قَبْلَكُمْ. Those who were before you, you will follow their ways. La ilaha illallah. It didn't say religious, cultural, national. Sanan combines all of these. Sanana. Man kana qablakum, those who came before you. Shibran bishibrin. Handspan to a handspan. So they do a handspan of something, we do a handspan. If it is a whole yard, وَذِرَاعًا بِذِرَاعٍ, it's a whole yard. That Muslims go to the streets of a Muslim country wearing these costumes, celebrating the celebration of the witches. What does the Quran say about that? What's wrong with you Muslims today? And then you have people here like arguing with us. Like listen to the khutbah, and I see after I finish a khutbah, when I talk about such topics, they're lining up. I agree with you, but. So you don't agree with me. What is it you're going to say? What are you going to say? Christmas, let's suppose all Christians just gather there as a tradition. Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam here said that we will do that, and some Muslims actually go and meet with them on those days. Thanksgiving, for example, Halloween. So let's suppose they're not doing it as a religious thing. It's still a part of their culture. We're not supposed to follow it. تَتَّبِعُنَّ سَنَنَ مَنْ كَانَ قَبْلَكُمْ. You will follow the ways, traditions, behaviors, actions. مَنْ كَانَ قَبْلَكُمْ, those who came before you. شِبْرًا بِشِبْرٍ وَذِرَاعًا بِذِرَاعٍ. A handspan by a handspan and a yard by a yard. You just perfectly follow them. Perfectly. That's what it means here. حتى لو دخلوا جحر ضب تبعتموهم. لا إله إلا الله. Even if those Jews and Christians and the kuffar around us and the mushrikeen, even if they go into the den of a lizard, ضب, it's a small lizard, and it's in the Arabian desert. Some people consider it as a delicacy. Rasulullah ﷺ refused to eat from its meat. The den of the lizard that is called a ضب is very narrow and it stinks. You see? That's the explanation of the hadith, by the way, by the scholars. I said he chose that one in specific, that even if it is so narrow and it stinks, still you will follow their ways. So Abu Sa'id al-Khudri said, قُلْنَا يَا رَسُولَ اللَّهِ. We said, O Rasulullah, الْيَهُودُ وَالنَّصَارَى, the Jews and Christians. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam said, فَمَنْ? Who else? Who else? Who else? Look at the Muslims today. They're taking these things lightly, and it's like a joke. It's like they hear the ayat and the ahadith and still have something to say about it, like it is their decision. They ask Allah in every Fatihah they recite or teach their children, oh Allah, guide us to the straight path. But these Christians and Jews, okay, it's okay. I've seen some masajid that have put lights around the masjid, the ceiling of the masjid from the outside, or the wall around the masjid, Christmas lights. So I went to that masjid and I said, what's going on here? He said, these are Christmas lights. I said, let's go somewhere else. I'm not going to pray here. What's wrong with you, ya Muslims? What's wrong with you? There is something very good for you in Surah Al-Fatihah, and you're asking Allah every day, every time you pray, you do the salah, any rak'ah, you teach your children, you recite Al-Fatihah for ruqyah to save you from the path of these Christians and Jews and other kuffar, not only the Christians and Jews, and other kuffar and mushrikeen. And then you follow their culture and tradition. We ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give us knowledge in the religion and righteousness in understanding and following of the Quran and Sunnah and the way of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam and his companions. This is a warning to you, brothers and sisters, to stay away from these people, especially in their celebrations. If you don't have to go out, don't go out. Those stores, they've been planning for Christmas since June. Christmas in June, Christmas in September, Christmas in October, Christmas and Christmas. And it's all about business. It's all about money. They care less about Isa alayhi salam. They have no idea who he was. They have no idea whatsoever when he was born. It's just they made it into a business, and the origin of it is pagan, and the church allowed this paganism into their church because the Europeans were resisting them. They didn't want to do Tawheed. They've been doing so many aliha. So they didn't want to discount the aliha into one. Jalal Abualrub. They didn't, they refused. So the Christian church, what they did is they brought paganism, not the full extent, from 1 to 3. Just, this is the, the extent of what they're claiming to follow. But in reality, inshallah ta'ala, soon we will have an article about the origin of Christmas and where it came from. You will be amazed how much shirk, kufr, fusuq and isyan that are included and incorporated into Christmas. Also, I want to mention that the hadith that I mentioned about the sanam, it doesn't mean that Muslims will become kuffar. It means that they will follow the traditions, the cultures, the ways, the habits, clothes, anything the kuffar come up with, they do it. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us among those who are on the straight path, the path of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam and the Anbiya, all the prophets of Allah, and all the Siddiqeen, and the Shuhada, and the Salihin, until we meet him. We have to resist this wickedness that's creeping in the Ummah. We have enough wickedness. Wallah, we don't need any more. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for knowledge, practice, and righteousness, and statement, action, and creed. Wa aqim as-salah.